Lesson 5.7, Multiplying Dividing Decimals. The leading digit is the leftmost non-zero digit in a number. For example, if you had the number 23 and 5/10, the leading digit would be 2. If you had the number 54 thousandths, the leading digit would be 5. It's the leftmost non-zero digit in a number. Multiply decimals as you do whole numbers. Then place the decimal point. The number of decimal places in the product is the total number of decimal places in the factors. For example, 3 and 16 has 2 decimal places. 8 and 7/10 has 1 decimal place. Add 2 plus 1 and you have 3 decimal places in your answer. And you would just move over the decimal point 3 places. For example 1, you buy a pound and a half of lunch meat that costs $4.98 per pound. How much do you pay for the lunch meat? To find out how much you pay, you need to multiply the cost per pound by the number of pounds. Multiply like you normally would. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 45 plus 4 is 49. Carry the 4. 5 times 4 is 20. Plus 4 is 24. You add a 0, and then we move over one space. So we do 1 times 8 is 8. Don't need these 4's anymore. 1 times 9 is 9. 4 times 1 is 4. We line those up and add them together. 0, 17, carry the 1. 14, carry the 1. And 7. Count how many decimal places 4.98 has. 2. How many decimal places does 1.5 have? 1. Add them together, you're moving the decimal point 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Remember that you don't need to write the 0 in the thousandths place in your answer. So you pay, and I'll show you, $7.47 for the lunch meat. Please pause the video and try 1 through 3. It might be easier for you to set up the problem vertically. Remember, do not line up decimal places. And ignore the negative until the end. Remember, if it's the same sign, it has a positive answer. If it is different signs, it has a negative answer. So for number 1, the answer is going to have negative. So just multiply, move your decimal places, and it's a negative answer. Pause the video and try 1, 2, and 3. For number 1, you should have moved 2 places, 1 place, 3 places. And you get 19.826. 826 thousandths. 15, you should have set it up. Usually how I set it up is I put down the more place values or the more numbers on top. No matter if it's bigger or smaller, I just put more, the one that has more numbers on the top. Remember, you don't need to line up the decimals. In this case, it just happens. Different signs means this is going to be a negative answer. Negative 74.2995. 74 and 2,995 10,000ths. Number 3, multiply. 2 places, 2 places, there should be 4. and its positive answer, 847 10,000ths. When you divide by a decimal, you multiply both the divisor and the dividend by the power of 10. That will make the divisor an integer. Then divide. What you're essentially doing is you are taking the outside number, which is the divisor, and moving it until it hits the division sign. So this is 2 places. That means that I want to move 2 places inside the division sign. This is called your dividend. 1, 2. And you can see that's what they did. Essentially, you are multiplying by 100, but that's moving 2 decimal places. Okay, let's set this up first. You take the first number, and that goes inside the division sign. That's your dividend. The second number is outside. So set that up first, and they do it here. Move the decimal point 1 space, because that's all you need before you hit the division sign. Because I moved it once here, move it once inside in your dividend. This essentially is multiplying by 10, which is 1 place. At this point, I do like to rewrite my problem, just so that I have a nice, clear problem. 270.48. Bring up the decimal point. 28 goes into 27, not at all. You can put the 0 if you need to. Actually, 2 zeros. 28 into 2270, and this is where you might need to do some guessing and checking. It's close to almost bringing times 10, but it's times 9. 28 times 9 is 252. Subtract 18. We already brought up the decimal point. Now we bring down the 4. 28 into 184 goes in about 6 times, because 28 times 6 is 168. Subtract 184 minus 168. Is 16. Bring down the 8. And we already know that's another 6 because it's 168. We just had that to get 0. That's what they did here. And again, you don't need those first zeros. So you have 9.66. You can always check to see if it's reasonable by rounding the quotient, which is the answer, and the divisor to see if it gets to the leading digit. So leading digit is a 9 here, so round it to 10. And again, here's what we're doing. We're going to round this to 10. 2.8, the leading digit is 2, which we round to 3. 10 times 3 is 30, and if you go back up, that is close to 27. So it makes sense. In example 3, we're going to use zeros as placeholders. To find some quotients, you may need to use zeros as placeholders. The first number goes inside the division sign. It's called your dividend. The second number goes outside. First number inside, second number outside. Move the decimal point once. Move the decimal point once. Now you have 15 into 120. 15 goes into 120 8 times, because 15 times 8 is 120. So the answer is 8. The next one, the first number goes inside, the second number goes on the outside. Move it over twice. 1, 2. Now you have 173 divided into 519. You don't need those extra zeros because you have the decimal point. The only, actually, to be honest with you, I would have put down, should have put down at least, the 0.519, just to say there is no whole numbers. Bring up the decimal point. You can see that 173 does not go into 5, so we put a 0. 100, and we had the decimal point here. 173 does not go into 51, we add a 0. 173 does go into 519 3 times. So remember to use the 0 as a placeholder. Always line up everything nice and neat, right on top of each other, just because that way you keep track of where you need your zeros. Please pause the video and try 4 through 9. I'll set up the first problem for you. 5.6 inside, move it over twice, move it over twice, put a 0. So 7 into 560 goes 80. Number 5, set it up, you move it over twice, move the decimal over twice, 88 into 79.2, got 0.9. 16, just kind of ignore the negatives, just know that it's going to be a positive at the end, same sign, positive, different signs, negative. We're going to move this over twice, so here's the invisible decimal point. We're going to add 2 zeros. So you have 25 into 1500, 60 times. And it is positive, same sign. Same thing with 7, same sign, so it's positive. First number goes inside the division sign, second number on the outside. Move it over once, move it over once. 64 into 24.96. 0.39, 39 hundredths. Different signs now, so the answer is going to be negative. Move it over twice, move it over twice. 309 into 157.59. And number 9, move it over once, bring it up. We can actually, I like to rewrite it. And you have negative, because remember different signs, 0.002, which is 2 thousandths, negative 2 thousandths.